All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to a really cool video. This one's pretty different than most everything I've put out on this channel so far. This is with a really good friend of mine, Iman Gadzhi. For those of you who don't know who he is, he's definitely one of the pioneers of the space, and he's helped a lot of people get started in growing their agencies. His agency, they do about 100 to 200, or no, I think they do like 60 to $100,000 a month. He's trying to get it to 100,000 a month profit by the end of the year. And he's well on track to doing it. And I just wanted to bring him onto the channel just to ask him some hard questions and just really see, like, you know, how as a 20-year-old guy you can like be at that level. And though, you know, I think I'm a good testament for what it means to go from scratch to being in a great place at 20, you know, he's just gone all freaking in, and he's gotten to a really cool point. And so I wanted to bring him onto the channel just to sort of share his story and inspire some people, you know, to start their agencies, get help, and do it right. And just show you guys what it really means to grow up as an entrepreneur and go all in this stuff. And, you know, people compare me and Iman all the freaking time, and I totally get it. But the reality is, you know, he's been a good friend of mine for a long time, and I admire him, and, you know, the respect is very mutual. So I'd love to have him on the channel. Hopefully you guys enjoy this video. One of the key things that'll happen in this is I'm just gonna ask some very personal questions and try to get as, you know, applicable as possible for you guys. I don't want to ask him a bunch of technical questions. I really just want to get very applicable, very, you know, mindset related and outlook related, because one of the issues that I see a lot with these sorts of interviews is people will just go on all these tangents on like little technical things like, hey, how do you run Facebook ads and how do you get your first client and stuff like that. And I think I asked him a few questions like that, but I don't stick there because I know that that's not really what helps you guys ultimately. I know that what helps you guys ultimately is a perspective shift. And, you know, with my videos on this channel, I hope to give you that, you know, running my own agency at that, you know, $40 to $50 to $60,000 a month level, helping tons of students do the exact same thing and grow theirs. Some of our students even going on to be seven-figure earners. Like, the reality is that perspective is the most important thing. And so this video, if anything, is just going to be a great perspective shifter for a lot of people, and I hope you enjoy it. So without further ado, I want to introduce my friend, Iman Gadzhi. Welcome to the channel.
Yeah, we're live. Sweet. Good to have you, man.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, it's gonna be great, man. We've got a lot of like beginner agency owners here. We've already got like 20 viewers chiming in, so sweet. So glad I figured that out. Welcome to the group, man. I think this will be on YouTube as well, so welcome. It's great to have you. It's an honor.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure, man. So, dude, I just want to like ask you a few questions and just kind of shoot it with you. Like, I mean, there's not much of an agenda here, but like, yeah, I just think so many people like look up to where you've gotten your agency to, and like myself, I'm just inspired by seeing the moves that you're making. So I just kind of want to like dig a little deep if you don't mind. I know we've got live viewers, so you know, obviously, you know, do what you can. But yeah, dude, like I kind of want to start with like one theme that I'm seeing in my community, and this feels like a good place to start, is just getting obsessed with your industry and obsessed with the business model that you're in. And every time I'm talking to you over like WhatsApp or whatever, I just feel the obsession like bleeding through your words and freaking everything you do. Like, you know, your agency, the education side, everything, you were just like so zoned and so focused, and I admire that. So if you could speak to like what you've done internally and mentally to get that obsessed, I think that'd be a really cool topic to start with.
Yeah, I think when you're first starting, the most important thing is, I think beginners and intermediate / advanced people have like the opposite problems. Beginners sweat, they forget the big picture stuff, and they really sweat over the small stuff, which is the wrong thing to do when you're a beginner. And then the more advanced intermediate people, they like focus on the big picture stuff, but they kind of like forget to stop sweating over like the small stuff. And that's one thing that I've kind of noticed. And yeah, for me, like I think kind of a lot of this stems back from even when I was in school, and like people would tell me stuff and I'm like, yeah, but why? Like, you know, it's that sort of thinking of like, I don't want to ever accept an answer just as an answer. I'd never want to come to accept a conclusion just as a conclusion. I feel as though I take that same sort of principle and that same sort of thinking into business. I never just want to accept something as is. I want to kind of go through that branch and explore all the other options and question everything that I'm doing and everything that the industry is doing. I mean, that was kind of like how, I think that's why a lot of people just, you know, let's put everything else aside, you know, sort of my worldview and the way I look at things outside of business, just within agency life itself. I think
Yeah.
that's the thing that people resonate with the most is like, because I got my start, this is actually my 4-year anniversary of having an agency. I signed my
That's
first
cool. I'm
client.
meeting you on the 4-year. I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah,
Congrats, man.
thank you. I signed my first client August of 2016, and like I did, I've been through all those paradigms. I've been through doing 30 days of work and then invoicing at the end, but not, I don't have a client's card on file, and I know what that stress is like of, a client is 25 days late on payment and this and that. And, I've been through having a creative agency and a sort of traditional one, and then having a hybrid, and then having an advertising agency. And then even when having an advertising agency and going all in on that, making a lot of mistakes and whatnot. So that was one of the big things, so around 3 years ago, I looked at the agency business model and I was like, I don't get it. Like 15% margins, like that doesn't really seem like it should be right. This offering everything under the sun doesn't really seem like that should be right. And I just questioned a lot of the stuff around the agency business model. And I think that was kind of the center point of.
How do you like trust yourself? Like that's one of the things, like that's one of my struggles, to be honest. Like I like that. I like the idea of being like a holistic thinker and like questioning everything. Like, how do you trust the decisions that you make off the questions you ask? Does that make sense? Does that question make sense?
By that, do you mean like, how do you not second guess yourself if
Yes,
then you're
sort of.
someone who's
How do you not
basically.
second guess? Yeah.
Okay, I get it. I mean, if you're someone who's always playing devil's advocate or trying to explore the different branches of what will happen, then I get what you mean. I think,
Yeah.
look, it's just a lot of thorough theoretical and logical thinking, and then you come to the best conclusion, then you try it, and then 75% of the time it works, and 25% in theory it works, but it just
Yeah.
doesn't. And
Yeah.
but the only constant and the only guarantee within that is that if you don't try, you won't find out. So I think questioning yourself, there's no real point in it. Once you have been thorough in your logic and your theory behind it, and you've come to a conclusion that is, and as well, intuition and gut instinct. Once you blended those three and you've come to a conclusion as to what is the best route to go, at that point, I don't really second guess myself.
Wow. That's powerful stuff. And I think the reason that's applicable, we've actually got some live viewers. I want to say, hey, some people are like super active in the chat. We're just ignoring them. Like Jonah, what's up? Luca, Sean, two Seans. Yeah, a lot of people watching. What's up, guys? I don't think we're doing much of Q&A. We might like towards the end, but like for now, I think we've had some people submit some questions. So I think I'll hit those as well. It's like one other thing, dude, that like is super inspiring. And I think a lot of people notice about you, even just from a distance, is like, it always seems like whatever's coming down the pipe for you, like even if it's like a huge, like I remember back, like when you like one of the things that I saw was like back, you sold this like $20,000 training package, like back, it was like your first $100,000 profit month, I believe. And had you ever sold something like that up to that point, or did you just be like, dude, I could probably charge 20 grand for this, and you just did it? Like, how do you get to that point if that was the case?
Yeah, so first time was 2018. First time I ever did I'd done 2-day trainings. I remember the first ever like proper 2-day training I did was I pitched it as I was 17. Like it was like the 28th of December or something like that. And then I got the go-ahead green light for it on like the 2nd of January or something like that. So it was going into 2018. And that was 4,500 pounds. For a 2-day training. And, by the end of the year, I'd propped up my prices to 15,000 pounds. So basically 3x my prices, comes out to $20,000. Look, I think with pricing, I've always come to realize that, or at least with the agency, I don't want to say that it was just, every single time you throw out a price which you think you're worth, just tack on an extra 10% and see what happens.
See what happens.
And keep doing that. But the weird thing for me is I actually got to a point in 2019 where I realized I was starting to price things wrong. Like I would have clients that I wanted to charge 5,800 pounds to, which comes out to like $7,000. But I charge them
Mm.
6,800 pounds set fee just so they would be that, or 6,800 or 7,000 pounds just so they would be a whale. So I could say that I signed another whale.
Right.
And I kind of started to realize, and if I look at my pricing, 2018 was about 2018 was about streamlining down, only offering one service, as well as these 2-day trainings, but that's not a monthly ongoing service. Streamlining down, only offering one service, getting known in my niche as the go-to person. And then 2019 and, tail end of 2019 and going to 2018 and going to 2019 was about beefing up my pricing and charging more and more and more. And the funny thing in 2020 I found is now I've actually 2020 has been about reducing my pricing, getting more clients in at a higher minimum agreement term. So this year I've only signed clients on 5 or 6 month minimums only. And my prices have come way down. We're making most of our money from performance. And I've even been signing clients for like 3,500 pounds, no performance, which is below what our minimum is, but at a 5 or 6 month minimum term. So that's something I've gone through in terms of pricing, is like initially just that excitement of like, oh, what can I charge? Like, let's keep pushing this boundary and see how much I can charge and how many whales I can sign and this and that. So like 2020 just being like, okay, actually, if you've got an average retention of 9 months or 12 months, like people don't actually realize how long that is.
Yeah.
Like, because look, inevitably you're gonna have clients leave at 3 months and you're gonna have clients leave at 14 months, and you have to take an actual average of that. And if your average is 9 months, for example, you're doing pretty well. To give you an example, if you're charging, if even if you're not charging crazy retainers, your average is, let's say your average is 10 months and you're charging $3,000 a month, nothing super crazy. That's 30 grand lifetime value per client. And I've started thinking more in this way. I've been thinking more in terms of what I want to make from the agency with an average retention and an average retainer. How many clients will I need? I've been, I've kind of just totally redesigned the way that I'm thinking about my agency numbers and profits. So as an example, with $3,000 a month, 10-month average retention, that's 30 grand lifetime value. You basically need, 30-ish, 35 of those clients per year. And you're making $1 million. And, then breaking down even further, that means that you need to sign 2.5, three clients a month. I know that if I'm signing at our average retention, which our average retention right now is 7 months, and I want to get that up to 9 months, our average retention is 7 months. Our average retainer, and I guess this is something that's skewed from last year, is our average retainer is around 6,500 pounds. So, that comes out to, let's just say even 6,000 pounds, 6,000 pounds, 7 month average retainer, 42,000 pounds, $50,000. So I know that, we only need to sign 20 clients a year to be doing $1 million in rev.
Yep. And I think you're speaking to a really important point, which I'd love to hear you speak on, because I think people, especially in like a service delivery business model, they get lost in that concept of knowing your numbers. Like it feels easier with like one of these, it feels easier to understand, like know your numbers with like drop shipping or something, but like to know your numbers as an agency owner. Like, I don't know if there's like a direct question here, but just speak to that process of like getting to a point where you're like, yeah, we know that our average client is this, we know average is this, we know how much we have to spend, we know, just knowing those numbers so you can look at your operation as a whole and as like a whole system. I'd love to hear sort of your transition going from high ticket to low ticket as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. I kind of looked at it. It was earlier this year in March and April. And this was around this same time that I decided I was going to bring on another media buyer. So I knew that we had capacity for 18 or so clients at any given time. And as I was doing that, I was also looking at my pricing. And, with me with pricing, it's never really been an issue so much of like clients say no. It's more just finding the sort of clients that could afford our services. And that was the main thing. I was actually trying to find a way that I could lower the barrier to entry to become a client of my agency. And that was the main sort of problem that we were having. And that kind of led me to just going, okay, how much do I actually want to make for my agency this year? Profit. And I know what my expenses are. Figuring out your agency expenses is pretty easy. For me, I have 2 employees and that's it. So, it's fixed payroll.
Pretty simple.
And software costs comes out to, I don't know, $350, $400 a month.
Nice. That's pretty solid.
Yeah. And look, for the agency, it's what Calendly, Teams, G Suite, ClickFunnels, but that's just because I host my website on ClickFunnels. Like I built my website on ClickFunnels and my onboarding. But I could have the basic plan. So to be honest, it comes out to like $300. It's Zoom.
That's pretty awesome.
It's
good for
not
you,
much.
man.
So long story short is I know what my expenses were, and basically rather than just because that's the thing with info product and e-commerce clients, there's no real rhyme or rhythm to how you price. And that's one of the unfortunate things, with local businesses, I have a very clear step-by-step process. With e-commerce info product businesses, I don't know, anyone who has an e-commerce info product business, yes, you can kind of work backwards. You can use some metrics and work backwards, but a lot of it is based off of what they're already doing, your how sure you are that you can get them to a better result, sort of that space in between, and mainly just gut instinct. And I decided there's a lot of clients where, if this is 2019, I'd be charging them £6,500 a month base fee, or, £7,800 a month base fee. And I started looking at them like, look, how can I lower my barrier to entry? And how can I make more of these deals £2,500 a month base fee, but we're still billing $8,000 a month in billables from our performance fee. And I also wanted to know, like, if it came to like worst comes to worst, if you got an e-commerce business doing $50,000 a month in rev,
right?
Would something like £3,500 a month with no performance fee, would that still actually be worth it for my agency? And I came to the conclusion that if I'm signing clients on 5, or in that case, it would be a 6-month minimum, £3,500, £3,500 times 6, I think comes out to £21,000. So that's like $25,000. Like I know that's a guaranteed $25,000, and that's also $25,000 net, because my costs are fixed. I have fixed costs anyways. Like I'm paying my Danny and Luis no matter what. So yeah, I guess it was just like, it's interesting you say that, because before this year, I never did think about it like that. I never did think about like how many clients do I need to sign this year. And then working, and it just made my life so much easier when I thought about how much do I want to make? What are my expenses? What profit will that lead to? Okay. What's my average client worth? What's the average retention? What's the average retainer? And then from there, I just know, it's a lot less stress, because I know I need to sign 2 clients a month, 3 potentially. And as long as I'm doing that, like I'm
You're good. That's solid, man. You work backwards. And I think that's one of the things that's really lost for a lot of people who are just starting, is like that concept of start with the end in mind, and then reverse engineer your numbers, and then just take action based on the KPIs you've decided on at that point. That's freaking good, dude. That's freaking good. That's making me rethink a lot that I'm doing, actually. Because we don't do any performance-based at all right now. None. No performance-based. It's all just like upfront, and then we upsell retainers based on upfront cost, right? Cool, man. Well, dude, to shift it a little bit more personal, if you're willing to do that, like, I want to ask, like, what's like the worst and best part of where you're at as an agency owner? Like, it could be business or personal, like whatever, however you want to answer that. But like, I think people are always going to look at like the journey as this straight line linear growth, and it's just like, oh, clearly, I just need to model Iman or model whoever, just like doom, get to where they're at. But like, what's the worst and what's the best part of where you've arrived as an agency owner, as an entrepreneur, the education side, everything mixed? Like, what does it look like right now? How does it feel kind of to be in that position? Because dude, you've got so many freaking people like eyes on you, man, like admiring what you've built. So best and worst, man. I'd love to hear that.
Well, it's funny you say that, and it's funny you mentioned the straight line thing. I can say, especially for the agency right now, the worst thing, which is kind of, it's I mean, it's really not bad. It's actually quite a good thing, is like, but I just hate this phase so much, is the phase when everything's working, and you don't really know how to make it better yet.
Mm.
And what I mean by that is this year with the agency was a slow start, and I knew it would be a slow start because I had other stuff for the education company. So I knew for the first 3-4 months of the year, I wanted to basically, I knew that maybe I might want to sign 1 or 2 clients, but I wanted to take it very easy. And then April, that's when I started looking for new media buyers. So, I brought on my new hire, completely revamped the new website, completely revamped the onboarding, completely did an overhaul of the entire sales process. We moved to 2 call. Well, technically it's still 1 call close because, the first call I'm not involved in. We went to a 15-minute demo to then a 45-minute discovery call. I use slides now to close. Like everything's totally, our reporting is entirely revamped. Like everything's revamped. Everything is done. And I'm at that phase now where it's just like,
what next?
I don't actually like at where I am right now as a business owner. I don't know how to make this thing any better. And also we're hitting the goals that we want to hit. We signed in, it was actually a video on my YouTube. I made a vlog out of it. I signed 5 clients in 72 hours.
It was like 80 grand in 72 hours or something, right?
Yeah.
That's cool.
80 grand in guaranteed lifetime value of those clients without any of the performance bonuses as well. But, so that was in end of May. And then in June, I signed 3 clients. In July, I signed 3 clients. So we're actually ahead of schedule at the moment. And it's looking like I might need to bring on another media buyer. So bring on another hire in a couple months. But for now, like everything's kind of working, and it's, I think
it's an interesting problem.
It's a weird place to be as a business owner, because it's like you don't have that big thing to tackle, and also that's what I'm not good at. Like I hate the small stuff. Like, I'm the type of person who will like clog up their email like for 3 weeks and then just do it in 1 day, or like same thing with messages. Like
I get it.
With messages, either you'll get a response in like 20 minutes because I'll just happen to be on the platform, or it'll be like 4 weeks later. Like there's literally no in between with me. And yeah, I hate the small stuff. And like right now, it's kind of, especially with the agency, it's like I don't have anything to do really.
It's just kind of like let it flow.
Yeah, and sometimes you have to go through those phases and just like, I mean, first of all, kind of enjoy it because everything's going to plan.
Yeah, right.
And just wait a little bit, and the next thing will come to you. So yeah, I'd say that's actually one of the negatives of where I am.
It's kind of like a negative. It's like everything's working, but like, it's a good problem to have for sure. It's a good problem to have for sure.
Yeah.
Interesting. It's cool to hear you say that, to be honest. It gives me a lot of perspective because, I've, of course, not at like 100 grand a month level quite yet, but I feel that way sometimes. It's just like things just crank, man. And it just feels like I wake up, make a little cash, go to bed, and just, it's got this cool cycle to it. And I've got a great relationship with family and things. It's just like, what next, So I totally get that. Yeah. So worst part is that. Best part, what would you say kind of best part is? It could be lifestyle even, dude. If you just enjoy what it's doing for you, that's coa. But like, I'm curious, what comes to mind when it's like the perk.
Yeah, I'd say the best part is like, obviously obviously I mentioned that I'm here in Manchester for 4.5 weeks, been boxing for 4.5 weeks, boxing for another, 1.5 weeks, and got a fight in 10 days. So like basically taking, and I've been in total maintenance mode while I've been here. It's just been sales calls, team calls, and that's it. Like no building, no like workouts, because it's training twice a day. Boxing takes that out of you. You have zero energy for anything. So I think like that's been very, very cool. And I think just over the past, while things have been working, I've just been taking a lot of time to, dive into a bunch of new topics and new interests and this and that. And like, it's like, I as things go, I think, another thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to learn how to start DJing once I'm moving into my new place in 3 weeks. And it's like, all my friends think that I'm having a midlife crisis, but I'm like, no, it's just, I don't know. Sometimes you just gotta let and I also think I'm at a point right now in the year where this has been such a successful year, and it's been such a work, because I was in South Africa away from home, like stuck in South Africa during a global pandemic with just, my buddy, my videographer, I was gone from London for 7 months. and still technically I'm not back in London. You know, I'm moving into my new place end of the month. So from January until July, it was just a 6-month sprint. Like I got so much work done. It's ridiculous. And I think I am feeling a little like burnt out work-wise and not super inspired to do work. So just I'm in a little bit of a maintenance mode over the past like 4 or 5 weeks. And I guess the cool thing is that also allows me to like express my creativity.
Like dude, like DJing. That feels like, dude, I mean, I've known you for like 3 years. I've never once heard you say anything about DJing.
Yeah. So don't worry, I'm not losing it. I mean,
yeah.
between buzzing my hair, boxing,
right, you buzzing your hair, DJing.
It looks like I'm having a bit of a Lindsay Lohan moment, but like, no, I swear, like, I haven't lost it. I'll be back on track soon. But I'd say that's been pretty cool. It's just like, once things do start working, like agency is my, like, I love this thing. Like it means so much to me. It's not, because I know for some people their agency is their stepping stone for something else. Like, and I will say, I'm investing a lot of money into property over the next 12 months. I mean, not for the next 3-4 months, because prices are still way too high.
Right.
The market.
Let it dip.
Yeah. The market's still going a little crazy, but it's allowed me time to, build relationships with, different loan officers and build relationships with different estate agents, and just really like make it apparent that like I'm sitting cash heavy, but I'm also an investor, so the numbers needs to be right, and build those relationships, building up to 3, 4, 5 months time where I'll be investing heavily. So yeah, I'd say that's the main benefit, is like, I guess the benefit and the negative is all kind of comes to place, which is like, and that's one thing I guess I will say is a lot of times people, when things are working, a couple things, when things are working and there's actually not that much to do, or when they're at a place where they don't actually feel that inspired. I think I actually said this to you. This was actually a couple months ago or something. We were talking about this. I was saying how like most people, when they go up a hill, they think that going up a hill is when you should start pedaling more. But the thing is, when you're going up a hill and you start pedaling more, you might only get like an extra 1 or 2 miles per hour, right? Because you're going against the force. When you actually should pedal more is when you're going down the hill, because you're going with the force. And you might get an extra 5 or 10 miles an hour because you're pedaling and going with the force. Whereas, going up the hill, you're only getting extra 1 or 2, and it's that kind of that same thing, which is just like there are natural ebbs and flows. And for sure, I always feel this in the summer as well. Like my, in the winter, like all I think about is business and systems and building shit and all that stuff.
And now you're out boxing.
Yeah, and in summer, I mean, it's a little different this year, but in summer, usually for me, it's rosé and calamari, and
that's sweet, man.
I
love that.
But yeah, I think that's a big thing for people is once you've actually built something, established something sizable or decent. If you're trying to sign your first client and you don't feel motivated or inspired, this is not me laying you off the hook to then go and do whatever you want. But once you've built something, once you've actually established something, there, things are cyclical, and there will be periods where like you just kind of need to let your creativity or interest flow in a different direction for a little bit, and then come back super strong.
Nice. That's good advice, dude. I honestly needed to hear that, because like it really does. It does come in flows like that. And you have to kind of see that flow coming down the pipe, and kind of see that like harvest season, or that, rice and beans season coming down, and kind of get ready for that hit, and then just kind of lean into it and do with it what it asks of you for a minute. That's good, man. That's good advice. Hey, I want to respect your time, man. How much time do you have? Like, how much longer are you willing to go here?
Funnily enough, I was meant to be a session tonight, but Jimmy can't. So I actually have no time limit. So
sweet, cool, man. We got plenty of questions coming in on Facebook. Then let's just hit some of those. Those of you listening live, drop some questions in the comments. I feel like we've kind of had our time to just hit it, and I kind of want to hit some of those questions. So we'll wait for that to populate a little bit. I think that'd be really good for us to go back and forth. Actually, we have 28 unread comments. Let me do that. Let me see what else people are saying. Hit us with any questions, guys. I can't seem to scroll down. So anything you guys have. And while we're waiting, dude, like, I think one of the questions, I'd like to hear your answer to this. because this is just such a freaking common question, and it feels like it's a different answer for everybody. Oh, somebody wants us to talk psycho-cybernetics. Actually, we should probably do that. That's way better. We should do that. I know we both love that book. So, dude, I think a good way to hit that is, what are some books that have been transformational for you? Give some people some books to go read, like honestly transformational, because psycho-cybernetics is one of those for me. So like what are those books for you?
Yeah, so in that same vein, you know, because look, there's spiritual books, there's books on psychology and, you know, understanding oneself. There's books on finance, you know, because there's such a spread of books, but kind of like if you want to tap into that same vein, I'd say psycho-cybernetics. If you want sort of the, you know, psycho-cybernetics is like the PG-13 version. If you want like the rated R version, and, you know, the heavy stuff, read Reality Transurfing. But that's a book you're going to need to read like 3-4 times, just because it's like the first time you read a lot of stuff, you're just like, what the fuck? This makes zero sense. But I'd say that is, if you can let that sink in and use the principles in that, I'd say that's actually a better book. I mean, Psycho-Cybernetics is incredible, but like Reality Transurfing
Yeah,
just on another level.
It is.
And then another one, if you want something even a little below, easier to sort of digest than Psycho-Cybernetics, is Atomic Habits by James Clear. I remember one of my clients recommended me that book, and I was just like, dude, I've read like fucking 30 habit books in my, like, I don't need to read
it's all the same, like habit
like,
loops or whatever.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't need to read another habit book. And I read it, and no, actually, like, it's incredible. Very, very good. I strongly recommend.
Awesome. Solid. Sean Rutledge, dude, that's a good question. He's asking, how do you stay emotionally detached from results? And I assume that means like the month to month. And honestly, I'd love to hear your answer to that too, man, because I think I've PM'd you sometimes. I'm like, man, things freaking suck right now. And like, how do you stay consistent? And I mean, you know, everybody's human, so I assume there's been times where, like, you know, it's like, frick, you know, it just hits you like a brick wall. But I mean, how, you know, because obviously you've been at it 4 years now. You know, most kids our age have no idea how to commit 2 months to anything. So like, you know, what pulls you through those times, and how do you emotionally detach from like even a big high? Like, how do you just let a big high be a big high and you don't get too in your head about it? Like, you know, both ends, you know?
Yeah. So, I mean, look, at the end of the day, I judge myself at the end of every single day. And also I think it's just knowing that, you know, it's funny looking at people will be like, after 90 days, they'll be like, oh, it's so weird, I haven't signed any clients, like things are going so bad, or blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, how many meetings have you had in the last 90 days? And like 2. and then you can follow that same vein, and once again, you'll start to see that they're not doing enough outreach in order to set the amount of meetings needed in order to sign the amount of clients that they need. So for me, it's just, I am far more concerned about the micro day-to-day. Am I doing the task? Because I know that like the results I don't really have a say in. Like it's results is like 50-50, and this 50% I don't have a say in. This 50% I have full entire say in, but I don't need a 30-day window, or I don't need a 90-day window to judge myself on whether I'm going to get that result, because I know by the daily actions whether it's going to happen, or at least whether I've played my part, you know, my 50% part in the 100% whole of achieving that thing. So yeah, I'd say that's sort of the main thing. And in terms of, so that's also why, like, you know, if things aren't going well, you know, I think you can always follow it back to a cause in terms of inaction, or just not doing the things you need to do. And then in terms of success, I think you need to, I don't think you'll be able to answer that one or understand that one until you've been successful, and then be like, oh man, like I got this shit on lockdown. And then you stop doing the things that got you there in the first place. And then you feel that hit 3 months later, because it doesn't happen the next, you know, it's not like you stop doing the things that got you there, and then it's like next month is a bad month. It's like, no, you'll feel that 3-4 months out, and you know, month 3, 4, 5 from now will be a shit month because of what you've done now. And you know, I think, you know, I've just had it over the past like 4 years where I've had that, where I'm like, oh, things are going so well, blah, blah. And, you know, maybe and for me, it's never been like I work less, or I'm less, it's never been like I work less or I'm less disciplined or less focused. It's more like I'm less diligent about certain things. Like I let certain things slide. And usually I find that more with like the finances, like I might blow my finances a little more. Or just being on top of little things in terms of tracking for the business. That's kind of been the areas that, I feel that hurt 3, 4, 5 months later.
Yep. It's like effect delays. It's like when you're on that high. So really your advice is when you're on that high, do not forget what got you to that high. What's that book? Have you read Slide Edge? I'm sure you have. The Slide Edge. Talks a lot about that. Maybe not. That's all right. It talks a lot about that. It's like that concept of like when you're on an up, don't forget what got you to that up. It's like don't let yourself plateau there because you're enjoying the up too much. And that's been a huge that's just natural. Like for myself, especially, I think there's a part of my ego that wants to be like, oh, I don't even have to freaking do anything now, but it's just not the truth. So that's good. That's a freaking solid answer.
I think you also start to feel like you have that Midas touch.
Yeah. You get a little in your head about it.
Oh, no. Yeah. You're just like, oh, no. I just think I think you start to inflate your abilities as an entrepreneur. And I think that's when things get very dangerous.
Been there, done that. That's a good answer, dude. Dude, one of my buddies, Franco, he says, how did you keep momentum when you first started getting wins at a young age? That's a huge question, man, because Franco's actually 16. I think he's doing like 20 grand a month right now. So I'd love if you could speak to that. And he's actually a huge fan of yours. I know that too. So that'd be cool. So yeah, it's he's doing 20 grand, 16. And like I'd love to hear that question too, because you were 17 getting these wins. And I know there's a little bit of desperation too, just with the situation that you were going through at the time. But like what's your advice to somebody who kind of has a win and then slows down like we were saying?
Yeah, well, I think one part of that question was like when you're young. Yeah. And I just think that has zero relevance. Like it's the same thing when you're young. It's the same thing when you're, in your 20s or in your 50s. It's just you don't take your foot off that gas. And you don't take your foot off that gas. And as simple as it sounds, in the same way, like it's a skill being able to recognize when you're not there mentally, or you just need a bit of time, not to fucking step away from this entire beautiful thing that you've created, but just to kind of go in maintenance mode for a little. It's in that same way you need to, and that's kind of what I recognize in like February, March, April, May. I was like, no, I'm in the zone right now. So for me, it's like when I'm in the zone, there's nothing else that, and I might want to let little things slip into my periphery. And I just go, no. This is my, when you have time going down the hill, just don't pedal and don't let anything else get in the way. Because you have this like natural booster. Like there's something in your biology and your chemistry, and just your head's at a place where you're attracting a lot of, I think you're at a place where you're manifesting a lot of really good stuff in your life. And I always view it as like you have a certain window. That window will come again, but there's a certain window. And in that window, you gotta, get as much juice from your squeeze as possible. So yeah, what I'd say to you is, if you're in that zone right now, just, make sure that nothing gets into your sphere, nothing in terms of social media, nothing in terms of bad habits, nothing in terms of partying, drinking, sleeping late, this, that. If you're in that zone, like save that stuff for the times when you're not in that zone, and you need to let your hair down a little and whatnot. If you're in that zone right now, like just recognize that it's like, it reminds me of like when you play video games, and you've got like a booster or something, and like you only have a certain amount of time until that booster's gone. Like,
yep.
I view it like that.
Yep. It's like a power up or whatever. Yeah, it's really is. It's like a double momentum. It like doubles your momentum. Anything you do has twice the effect. And I know exactly what you're talking about. I feel it recently. Honestly, I'm on one of those right now in my business, and it feels freaking awesome. But then like 2 months ago is the exact opposite. It just swings so much, and you just have to be willing to lean into those swings. That's freaking good advice. I really hope you guys are listening to this and like actually taking notes here, because that I would probably already be doing like 150 grand a month right now if I were leaning into that advice the entire journey so far. So that's solid stuff, dude. That's solid stuff.
Have you moved spots?
No, I'm just in my kitchen.
Oh.
Same spot. Yeah, I just moved my laptop to my kitchen. I don't know why I'm working right here, but I just like the marble countertop. It works for the and I've just got this like dinky old stool I'm sitting on. Yeah, it's a good spot, man. I've closed some big deals right here in my kitchen. It feels cool. It's just like in my kitchen. Yeah, man. Well, sweet, dude. Guys, hit us with some more questions. I'll go I don't want to respect your time, man. I'll just go like another 10 minutes. Is that cool with you?
Yeah, I've literally, it's 7:03 here. I said I was meant to have a second session today that got called off. So I got nothing to do. I'm gonna eat, read, and then pass out. So
what are you reading?
Pretty good. Right now I'm on to, what was I reading? No, right now I'm actually rereading Living with a Navy SEAL. Because that was
is that who's that by? I've heard of that book. What's that?
Something, it's Jesse Itzler or something, I think. His wife, I'm pretty sure his wife is the owner of Spanx.
Okay.
But anyways, I read that. I think I read that when I was like 17 or something. I read that a couple years ago. So I read that a few years ago and I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. Like I would want to do that someday. And this is my version of that, where I've got a professional boxer, like 24 and 2 professional boxing career, world champion, trying to become world champion again. Like spending 4 hours a day with him, you kind of teaches you, a lot of mental discipline and like fortitude and like a lot about like manhood and whatnot. So I was rereading that again actually, because like it just reminds me of kind of like what I'm doing here in Manchester with Jimmy.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Have a great time with that, dude. That sounds like a freaking blast. I've been trying to get into rock climbing is what I'm doing. I've got a rock climbing buddy who's just pushed me to my freaking limit recently. And I'm small. I'm like 5'8" or 5'9", depending on what shoes I'm wearing. So I'm like good. But I'm good for like pretty much rock climbing. I'm small, so I can do that. Yeah. So dude, we just had a great question come through, and I want to hear your perspective on this, because this is one of the things honestly that held me back. Like when I first met you, I think we could both agree that this was my struggle. So the guy is asking, I forget his name because the comment's already gone. Sorry to not credit you, man. But he said, like, if you differ in terms of values with your parents, because dude, like, objectively, you have a younger audience, and just how it is. We attract younger guys mostly. So like, how do you navigate starting a business, or like respecting everybody involved and not stepping on toes unnecessarily if you have just such a different outlook on like college? And I'm sure you've gotten this question before. I'd like to hear what you have to say there, because that was one of my big problems too. So
yeah,
how would you handle that?
I kind of came to learn when I was like 16, and I just remember those 3-4 months where it was just like maybe an hour a day, 90 minutes a day of just arguing with my mom about, like, at that point I was pushing to like drop out of drop out of school, which by the way I don't recommend for anyone. But it was only until I actually had some clients signed, and it was only at that point I made a promise to myself I would get to 5K or 4.2K a month, and then I drop out of school. But I know I remember just after like 3 months or something of this, I just got to a point where I realized, like, this is so dumb. Like I'm an idiot if I'm gonna think that I'm gonna change her opinion
by arguing.
Yeah, so I just realized, like, at a certain point I was like, all right, cool, smile and nod. So that was a piece of advice. Number one is just smile and nod. And number two, just realize that whatever your parents are saying about the biggest thing for me was realizing that whatever your parents are saying about you building a business or your prospects of succeeding with a business it has literally nothing to do with you and is a total direct reflection of them. And, for me, it was with my mom. In her case, it was like, she, single mom, 23 years old, working 3 jobs. My grandma took care of me when I was until the age of like 4. So single, and then going from that, being in Russia, Dagestan, to like, which just, no opportunities, no prospects, nothing, poverty, to like getting us all the way to London and getting me in private school, and then being in an abusive relationship for 13 years, and just going through like hell where like, just us going through hell, being in a house, for the last like 3-4 years of being in my place, like with no like warm water or heating or internet. I used to, there's a company in the UK called Three. They used to like, I built my entire agency off of 4G, because Three has like a unlimited I remember they have for like £20, they have a unlimited like 4G package or something, like hotspot. So just a hotspot off my phone. But just like I had such a weird childhood with, like, as I said, just my mom being in an abusive relationship and like us having no heating or warm water, but like I still went to private school because of like my mom and my
weird
stepdad.
Contrast, man. I never thought about that for you.
It was so weird. Like my childhood was so weird. And my mom stayed in that relationship, and stayed in that relationship literally so I could get an education. And I realized like me dropping out of school is literally, to her, is the equivalent of her life purpose, of all of it being worth nothing. Like, 13 years of hell and torture, literally just for nothing, because I dropped out of school. So I didn't get that thing. I didn't get that degree. I didn't get that accolade. And, fighting with her. And even though like she even herself admitted, when, after we get to a couple hours of fighting and, we'd worn each other out a bit or whatnot, she'd even admit like, look, I know that, school is not the right path for you, because first of all, like, say school finish, okay, who's going to pay for college? Like,
right.
I definitely wasn't going to take a student loan. My mom, at that time in 2016, we'd just come off of being on government benefits. She was working at NHS. She was a receptionist at the Chelsea and Westminster branch. So, on like minimum wage, so it's not like she was going to pay for it.
Right.
So she even admitted herself, like, I know business is the right path for you.
It was just that like she wanted to know there was some security there. Like it's almost like going the opposite route.
But for her, it was just like, she was like, look, it's just, if you drop out of school, it feels like everything I ever worked for, like everything I've been through to make sure that you could go to private school, was all worth nothing. And, I guess kind of coming to realization with that, or, to make it relatable to other people, is like, if other people or parents are like, do you not know that 90% of businesses fail within the first 5 years? And so, and it's like, okay, cool. Like we can pull up a fucking 101 statistic. Like, okay, first of all, within that, are we referring to startups? Are we referring to small to medium?
Right. Get specific.
Like you can pull any random stat.
Yeah.
It's so irrelevant to say that. And really, that is, you need to understand, that's just a reflection of your parents, of what they think they're able to do. That is not a reflection of you at all. And
it's great advice.
Conversely, you might have some other weird twisted dynamic where sometimes a lot of parents are actually trying to live vicariously through their children.
Yep.
While on the flip side, they don't want them to do well.
Yep.
Like a lot of
It's a weird thing. There's ego in the way there.
A lot of parents feel jealous if their kids do well, because they feel as though like their kids did better than it. So you need to understand that, like, whatever your parents are trying to say to you, first of all, the best actual course of action is just smile and nod, and then just go about it either way. This is why, this is why I keep saying, like, look, if you live under your parents' roof, unfortunately, you kind of need to do what they say. You may need to keep up your grades or this or that, but work to get to a point where, like, you're making 2-3 grand a month, and you can move into some absolute bumhole $250-$300 a month studio apartment, but who gives a shit? You got your freedom.
You've got your own place, man. And that was a huge thing, dude. I think you know this about me. I was like homeschooled, and it was Christian environment. I'm still Christian to today. I really loved a lot of the values I was raised with, but like it was so much tension, dude. Like, and it's crazy because my dad's an entrepreneur as well, and even he was like, I'm not really sure, like, but I had to go all in at some point and just be like, look, I love you guys, and ultimately I'm doing this for you. Now it's cool. It's coming back around. I don't think I've told you this, but dude, like, I might be like really financially helping my family soon. So it's cool. Like, it always pays off. So I would agree with your advice, and I think we have slightly different perspective because I grew up, like, with both parents in the household, and so I'd almost say your advice is spot on. Mix that with have total respect for them, and like just know that you're doing it for them ultimately. And I think it's been a huge thing for you with your mom. So it's just inspiring to know that about you, dude. Like, I think it really attracts a lot of people to you to see like that's a core driver. So cool, man. I mean, we've got tons more questions coming in the comments, but I almost like want to see if there's anything else really good here that like I know would be cool to hit. Otherwise, we'll just peel out.
We'll watch again next. I know you've turned into a bit of a horology whore as well.
Man, dude, I don't know. I mean, the Daytona, I like the Daytona. I'd like to get a birth year sub. A 99 sub would be really cool. Just because it's birth year and it's such a classic watch. Yeah. So I'm thinking about that. But besides that, like, honestly, dude, I'm really considering just like getting into something like, I wonder if it's something like watches where it appreciates, but like I just feel guilty wearing the watch. Like I can't help it. Like, you know, it's this common thing online. It's like, you know, wearing like a bunch of money on your wrist. And I just always feel like I love this thing. I freaking love it. It makes me feel like a man, dude. It's what it does. I love it. But I'm also like, man, like it's like $18,000, maybe 20 on the right market, you know? So I just have to be really careful. And I have to just stay very aware of that. So yeah, I don't know what's next besides a birth year sub. I also, dude, I'd like to dive into the Patek world and maybe get what's their lower end, like 40,000 pound, like, or maybe 35 US. What is that? Like, it's like it's not a Nautilus, obviously. Aquanaut. Yeah. The Aquanauts look awesome. I love an Aquanaut.
Yeah, they're cool.
So yeah.
I like the birth year stuff. I like stuff like that. Like, yeah, I think I've seen a lot of people like trying to, even because based on the references, you can even potentially, and it also depends on the brand. You can also know the quarter of the year it is, and sometimes even the month. So it's like, and it's very, very cool. I like that sort of stuff.
Yeah, that's cool, man. What's down the pipe for you? I mean, you just got a freaking Richard. So what's next for you? Are you gonna start going for some really crazy, like wacky vintage stuff, or like what do you think?
No, so next I've got, when I get back to London, I got a Sky Dweller, blue Sky Dweller.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cool complication. And then after that, I'm gonna get a Jaeger LeCoultre, a JLC Grand Reverso.
Nice.
I love that watch. I love like the story behind that watch as well. And then after that, to be honest, I don't really know. It's I really have nothing left on the list.
It's crazy. I feel like I'm meeting you. Obviously the numbers are a bit different. Like you're probably like 4 or 5x ahead in terms of just revenue, but I feel like I feel very similarly how you feel, where things are just freaking cranking right now. And I'm just grateful, you know, and it's like I just want to maintain, and once that next downhill comes, I feel ready for that. I feel like I'm starting one right now, to be honest with you, but like I'm just getting ready to pedal right now. So I'm not really thinking about that too much. So it's almost like what watch you get next? I'm like, I don't know. Right now it's like I've got so much on my mind with my business, I haven't even thought about it. I got this and just didn't think about it. But yeah, dude, well, I'll end it here, man. This has been super cool. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. If you enjoyed the interview, just leave something in the comments. Let's give Iman a bunch of support. You guys know where to find him. Anything you want to end off with, man? Like, I mean, I know we kind of hit everything. Are there any points that you kind of want to dive a little bit deeper into or anything, or like?
No, I mean that wraps it up. I'd just say the only final thing I leave you guys with is just everything that's going on in the world. Just try your best as much to avoid news as much as you can. Educate yourself on the topic. Everything from the virus itself to the response to it, to understand different incentives that people have, to vaccines, to all this. Educate yourself. Just make sure you're not watching any news, because that's more than, I think 2020 more. I don't watch news. I never have. I've always avoided it. But more so than any other year, 2020 is the most weird, convoluted.
Dude.
For news and media outlets and this and that, like just
it's great advice. It's great advice. freaking solid advice. Yeah, I think just get obsessed with this little industry. Like, get obsessed with marketing. Get obsessed with these like, and let your inputs be people in this industry who are succeeding. Like people like Iman, people like myself, people who are like actually in the zone. Like that's all I've got in my brain right now.
Mm.
Yeah, no news. I don't think I've watched the news since I moved out. It's been like 9 months since I honestly watched the news.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't know crap about what Trump's up to, any of this stuff. Like, it just doesn't matter to me anymore. I think I did some research on the Corona thing to see what my response should be. I'm like, should I wear a mask? Should I not wear a mask? Decided I should, and then that was over. The conversation's over. Like, move on to the next thing. So that's great advice, man. And I would mirror that advice. But solid. Thanks for tuning in, guys. This will go on YouTube here soon for those of you who are catching us towards the end of it. Thanks for being here, Iman.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure.